Well. Here we are again reviewing yet another superhero movie made by Warner Brothers. I don't even know where to begin. For starters, let me just say that I don't hate musical movies, alright? I'll never be the type of person to hate on a movie just because the characters start breaking out singing. But if I'm being honest, though I don't hate musicals, I would say that I'm not a fan of them either. That seems to be the biggest form of hate around this movie, is why is there so many musicals in this sequel. But honestly, most of these musicals are well choreographed, however they don't service to the actual narrative of the movie. I think the only musical in a superhero genre that was actually done in service of the narrative has to be whenever Kimiko from The Boys starts breaking out singing in season 3. But the only reason why no one clowned on that TV show for having a musical is because Kimiko, the girl that started singing, was not able to talk at all prior to that musical. And it's hard to cast someone like Lady Gaga and not do musicals because obviously she's a really good singer and everybody knows that. But these musicals don't ever contribute to a larger narrative and just feel like they're here to waste time. I try my absolute best to try and avoid spoilers and reviews prior to me going to see a movie because I want to formulate my own opinion, and whenever I see movies like this, it's very difficult for me to avoid saying, yeah, the director didn't want to make a second movie. Which, if we're being honest, that's the whole vibe for the second movie. Because the first Joker movie didn't need a sequel, and not every movie needs a sequel or has to become a trilogy. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse, which is a movie I love, but if I'm being honest, that movie didn't need a sequel. Now, does that mean that the sequel was not good? No. Of course not. But in the case of the Joker, it's really hard to see where you would even go after the first movie because there's not a whole lot to go off of. Though I would say the first Joker did a very good job in making us understand why Arthur turned into a lunatic, showing us a character that gets treated like trash when all Arthur is really trying to do is work a job and take care of his mother, is a very good way to make us like Arthur, but also understand why he would eventually become like this. But for some reason, the second movie decided to instead try and undo what the first movie tried to establish. It's like Todd Phillips is embarrassed of the first movie. I think the best way to explain this movie to you is it feels like a movie where the director had nothing to go off of and just starts making shit up and drawing out every scene to take up as much time as possible. Ironically, that's not the first time a DC director tried to do that to us. But I think another reason why people were not as hyped for this movie is because whenever the first movie came out, DC was in a whole different ballpark going in a completely different direction in this universe. See, where the first movie shined and given us a standalone movie that wasn't tied into the messy Snyderverse, we now get a sequel in times where every DC fan just wants to see the Batman Part 2 and whatever James Gunn is cooking up next. It's safe to say the Joker Part 2 was never really on anyone's radar because every DC fan has been talking about Superman, Batman, and the Penguin. Literally anything but the Joker. However, I think a lot of people are also kind of getting tired of the Joker as well. This is a point I'll make whenever I make reviews about the Batman and the Penguin once those shows finish up. But I think a lot of people are just kind of tired of seeing the Joker. I mean, think about it, how many iterations of the character have we seen thus far? I mean, when I first heard about the Joker getting his first standalone movie that he would star in, I was not the most enthusiastic fan to say the least. I really just had to see it for myself, but after the Joker scene in the Batman Part 2 was deleted, I think a lot of people have been grateful that that scene has been taken out because we just see so much of the Joker already. And whenever you have a movie of a mentally deranged man that spends most of those movies runtime in a court case facing repercussions from the first movie's actions just for him to end up getting sexually assaulted, murdered, and then get a smile carved into his face, then I begin to understand why people hate this movie so much. It takes a unique set of circumstances for a studio to make a movie that pisses off the fans so much. Ironically, Marvel and DC do that all the time, but it hits different whenever we loved Arthur so much in the first movie and then all that shit that I just said happens to them in the second movie. I would say this movie somehow managed to piss off more fans than Batman v Superman did, and ironically, both of those movies were made by the same studio. There's not a whole lot of things I can say. I usually try to make these reviews about 10 or so minutes long for educational purposes. However, there's not a whole lot left to say. I think we can comfortably agree that this duology is not seeing a third movie, and I think we can all be grateful for that. However, if you were a fan of the first movie, then just don't even bother watching the second movie. And that's about it for this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and I got more videos on their way. 2 or 3 out of 10, I don't care, it sucks, don't watch it.